Hello and welcome. So today we are going to finish our Traxler Gambit course, and why I would like to recommend you to play such a sharp opening line, which happened after e4, e5, knight f3, knight c6, bishop c4, knight f6, knight g5, and here black is coming with very unusual bishop c5 moves, allowing white already in the opening of the game to capture on the f7, which usually we are trying to avoid such a situation when the f7 pawn is going to be lost almost in the opening stage of the game. So you should never shy away from sacrificing material when you develop an advantage compensate for this deficit. In this game, launching and direct attack against the enemy king should be your main target. And on our previous lesson, we were studying how strong black's attack in the Traxler contour gambit after knight takes f7, bishop takes f2. And we decided that after testing all the line with knight takes f7, bishop takes f7 might be the best reaction for white. But even here, after king a7, black is having quite strong positional compensation for material disadvantage. So black is ready to bring the rook to f8. Queen can go towards the white's king side after queen e8 and queen g6. After d6, black is ready to involve his light square bishop to attack white's position on the king side. So almost in all this situation, black is having quite strong compensation. So I would like to show you the lines which could happen in the situation after the best and the theory recommended move bishop d5, which also prevents black from pushing its pawn after d7, d5, and also in many lines, white is ready just to capture bishop takes c6, getting rid of the black's quite dangerous piece, knight on c6, which is ready to jump to d4 and just to support the black's initiative and attack on the king side. After bishop d5, what can we do? What shall we play first? Of course, we can try playing rook f8, intending white's pawn on f2. And in the previous lesson, we looked at rook f1 extremely dangerous for white because it weakens too much white's pawn on g2 and just almost invites blacks to play queen e8 and queen g6 later on when g2 pawn would become this good target. And we came to conclusion that short castle probably is the right alternative. In that case, white is trying to set the safe position for its king and trying to avoid the king side aggression by maybe c3 and d2 and d4 or d3. But even now, after d6, white has to be extremely careful. Why? Because black is already intending to bring its bishop to g4. And if white tries to play h3, stopping bishop g4 or knight g4, this move not only weakens white's king side, but this move leads almost to decisive attack for black. Let's understand why. Queen e8, d3, queen g6. Already white is having a problem, so it's almost not possible to play with the knight back to f3 because black just playing bishop takes h3 and white is losing. Let's understand why. The bishop takes h3, neither tactics here doesn't work. Knight h4, queen g3, knight c3, and knight g4. White's king is going to be mated. Pay attention that the strong bishop on c5 prevent white from capturing the black's queen on g3. The queen is not hanging. So white already has no time for playing knight f3. That means that white has to spend one more tempo for moving its king out after king h1. h6, knight f3. Already here, black could go for the simple queen h5, and extremely difficult for white already to stop bishop takes h3 sacrifice, which completely ruins white's king side. For instance, after knight bd2, bishop takes h3, g takes h3, queen takes h3, king g1 and knight g4, c3, queen g3 check, king h1. White's king is going to be mated after bishop takes f2. Threatening queen h3 check, or if knight is going out, then queen h2 is a checkmate. So here it's quite simple to understand that black is having so many pieces in the attack that to find the right continuation is just matter of time. Also, if black is trying to avoid this complication, that also quite strong in such situation, just to offer a piece, knight g4 move, which happened in one of the games between Bex and Donev and Bill tournament in 1995. So after knight g4, black is intending knight takes f2 and almost force white to play h take g4, bishop take g4, knight bd2, knight d4, c3, knight takes f3, knight takes f3, and after rook takes f3, black is definitely wins. So white has to should give up, as after g takes f3 and queen h5 check, king g2 and queen h3 check. So white's king is going to be mated, or white is going to lose the queen at least. Let's say after queen g3 check, king h1 and bishop takes f3. Decisive advantage. So in the game between Bex and Donev, which just I would like to show you what happened here. After knight g4, white decided not to capture the piece, but move bishop takes c6 is also doesn't work. Knight takes f2 check, rook takes f2, bishop takes f2, bishop a4, bishop takes h3. So all the black pieces coming into the game. Look at white's king side, queen side, totally undeveloped. G takes h3, and after rook takes f3, white has to resign. Queen takes f3 will be met by queen g1, checkmate. The game is over. So, instead of playing h3, of course, for white, the best alternative in such a situation after short castling and d6, trying to set control over the d4 square and to destroy the pin of the f2 pawn. So trying to remove the black's powerful dark square bishop. So white almost forced in such a situation to play d3, which is the best move according to the theory. And with the next move, trying to play bishop comes to e3. Much better alternative, but still, of course, black is having quite strong position. So, from just looking at that example, we can realize that even bishop takes f7 is not solving all the white's problems, and still position is so sharp, so unbalanced, that black is always having very good control chances. And I would like just to show you a few more examples which happen in my games which I played in my simultaneous exhibitions on ICC against the ICC members. So one of my games continue in this position, bishop takes f7, and I answered king e7, of course, bishop d5 and rook f8, short castling, d6, and my opponent decided to play probably the right move in such position. Of course not h3, but bishop takes c6. Getting rid of this knight on c6, and in generally just this bishop d5 move now has idea. B takes c6, d3, trying to play with the next move bishop e3. Probably in such situation I could play immediately bishop g4, force white to move its knight back to f3, but I decided first of all to bring my queen to g6. So this queen e8, g6, one of the typical maneuvers in the Traxler counter gambit when white is playing bishop takes f7 line. After bishop e3 and bishop g4, white is forced to play knight f3, and black is bringing its knight to d7, also opens the f file. After knight bd2 and queen h5, we can realize that for white is quite difficult to get rid of this pressure of all black pieces over the white's king side. My opponent played rook e1, and after rook f7, black is already intending to bring the second rook to f8. Bishop takes c5, knight takes c5. Black is still has pawn down, but white is so difficult to escape from this spin. Rook e3, that's what happened in the game. Rook a to f8. Queen e1, and black is just improving all these positions. So black is having full domination. Pawn down, but how white could solve all its problem? So knight cannot move. Always f2 is under attack, and black is preparing already the sacrifice on f3. That's exactly what happened in the game. My opponent played c3 intending to push d4. In that case, black decided already not to wait too much, just bishop takes f3, rook takes f3, rook takes f3, knight takes f3, rook takes f3. All is for the great outpost for the knight. Now look in which trouble white's king. So white cannot play queen e3 because after queen h3 here is inevitable mate. And after queen f3 and queen takes f3, black is having huge attack. So at least winning two more pawns and still keeping extremely strong knight on h3. How to stop knight h3 or knight e2? So white almost forced to play something like h4, but even I just can play check, and back my queen to f3, still preparing, moving my pawns on the king side. d3 pawn is gone probably. Black is having extremely strong position. So not talking about that I could maybe even play first of all queen h5 check, force white to play king g1, and then queen f3, intending knight e2, intending, as I said before, g5, h5. White is completely stuck, all these pieces frozen. So black is also intending to win one more pawn on d3. Okay. Second game, which was played in similar line after bishop takes f7. e4, e5, knight f3, knight c6, bishop c4, knight f6, knight g5, bishop c5, bishop takes f7, king e7, bishop b3. As I said before, so many of my opponents move bishop to b3 and not to d5. In that case, after rook f8, black is developing very strong attack. So of course white has to include short castling first, d6 and only now knight c3, h6, knight f3 and bishop g4. So this is the main problem for white. When knight is coming to c3, is no support for f3 knight anymore. Black is intending just to play knight to h5 and to f4 and just to destroy white's pawns on the king side after bishop takes f3. Thanks to the spin, white cannot move knight from f3 anymore. Knight d5, knight takes d5, bishop takes d5, knight d4. White already could resign. There is no way to stop knight takes f3 or bishop takes f3. After king f1, my opponent tried to use tactics, but all these tactics could be solved after queen d7. So black is just not allowing white even to capture my bishop to h5. Then queen h3, checkmate is coming. No move anymore. My opponent just answered bishop takes b7 and after bishop takes g4 resigned because the fourth checkmate is coming after h take g4, queen take g4, or bishop a6, bishop takes h3, bishop e2, bishop g2 check, king take g2, queen g4. Game is over. Once again, white just didn't solve all the problem after accepting the sacrifice in the sharp Traxler counter gambit. And also I would like to show you a few more games where my opponents played with knight takes f7. More interesting, of course. So let's see. Knight takes f7. Bishop takes f2. King takes f2. Knight takes e4. So this is from practical game, ICC, simultaneous exhibition with a time control 50 minutes and 10 seconds increment, played in 2004. After king g1, queen h4, g3, knight takes g3. My opponent played knight takes h8, and I continued according the analysis, knight d4. So bringing the one more knight into the attack. So after knight c3, my opponent was very surprised when I moved my pawn d5, and its position becomes very, very dangerous. So the main point, as you remember, of the d5 move is just to bring one more piece into the game. After bishop takes d5, g4, surprisingly, white is losing. Queen e1, knight g to e2, discovery check. So white is hanging queen to e1. After knight takes e2 and queen takes g e1, king g2, queen takes e2, king g3. My opponent's king has been mated by knight after knight f5, checkmate. Okay, one more example. Once again, knight takes f7. bishop takes f2, king takes f2, knight e4, king g1, queen h4, g3, knight takes g3, knight takes h8. Here in one of my games I decided just to play knight takes h1, experimenting with this line. According to my analysis here, queen f1 is very strong continuation. But my opponent decided to play queen f3. And after queen takes c4, king takes h1, d6 and d3. Everything looks very nice for white. White is having right now extra piece and black cannot capture on c2 because this will lead to the checkmate, but for black's king. Do I have a way to solve all my problems? Yes, I have. Bishop g4. So, at the same time developing my piece and counter-attacking white's queen on f3. So after bishop g4, white's position is extremely difficult, probably losing. As after d takes, bishop takes f3 and king e7, white's king is trapped and going to be lost, and black is still 2 pawns up. Same after move like queen g3, when my opponent decided to trying to keep the material advantage. Black is simply winning after queen d5 check, king g1, and strong move queen f3. Same idea. After trading the piece, the knight on h8 is still going to be lost. My opponent try his last chance, queen h4, but now knight comes to d4, threatening the checkmate after knight e2. Queen f2, queen d1 check, and black's domination here is easy to see. So white is having no pieces in the game at all. After king h3, queen takes c1, black is winning easily. c3, check, and finishing the game quite nicely after queen g4 check. And the last game I would like to show you, played also in 2004 in the simultaneous game. Started with e4, e5, knight f3, knight c6, bishop c4, knight f6, knight g5, and bishop c5. And here my opponent was slightly better prepared. Knight takes f7, bishop takes f2, and of course he decided to play king f1, which according to the theory is the best continuation. Queen e7, knight takes h8, and according to our analysis here, d5 is the right continuation. After e takes d5, I played bishop g4, and here my opponent decided to move its pawn on d5, d6, trying to cover the f7 square and trying maybe to play knight f7 later on. Indeed, I just found here just very simple move, queen d7, and suddenly white is finding himself in the very difficult position, because after bishop e2, black even not forced to sacrifice his bishop. So we just can play takes, queen takes, and after bishop b6, with incoming ideas, queen f5 check, knight d4, and long castling, white is almost losing. Even still, white is having the extra rook, but black is coming with long castling, queen f5, knight d4, for instance, knight c3, long castling. d3, I would play simply rook f8, king e1, knight d4, and hardly I could believe white can save this game. Black is having just huge attack, full domination after queen d2 and knight g4. All black pieces are in the attack and threatening rook f2, knight f2, knight e3. All we studied. Almost impossible for white to play such position. So my opponent decided to sacrifice the queen, but of course this cannot be recommended anyway. You play king takes f2, bishop takes d1, bishop f7 check, king f8, and rook takes d1. But easy to understand, even white right now is having rook and two pieces for a queen. Look how posed all white pieces. So black is having full domination, and it's not a surprise that game is finishing in just a few moves. Queen g4, rook d1 is hanging, rook f1. Now black is coming with knight d4, another typical move for the Traxler counter gambit. Attacking the c2 pawn, after which the rook on a1 is gone. Knight c3, only answer. Knight takes c2. Now clear that doesn't help anymore. Move like rook b1. Black could just play or queen d4 check, or even just simply c takes d6, and with the next move king e7. So this rook on h8 is gone. So white is in completely losing position, just no way to solve all the problems. So my opponent just blundered here, played h3, completely overlooked that after queen d4 check, my queen escaping with the check, and king e2, knight takes a1. White already has no compensation for a queen. d3, c takes d6, bishop e3, and even I'm keeping my knight on a1 by simple but nice move queen b4, which is preventing white from playing rook takes a1. The queen takes b2. White is losing all its material. So white resigned within few moves. And also from this game we can see that even after the counter sacrifice of the queen, black is still keeping very strong attack. All pieces in the game, all pieces are dominating the board, center of the board. White king in dangerous situation, always placed in the center, and is a great target for all black forces. I would like to thank all of you for following my course about Traxler counter gambit, and once again I would like to repeat that for start playing this sharp counter attacking line, important to remember the lines. So you have to understand, of course, what way you have to develop all your pieces, how to create these threats, but always I recommend you just to check out the lines at home before you play. You have to be very good prepared for playing the Traxler counter gambit. And I just recorded 3 lessons. I wish that all of you, before start playing it, just watch it once again, at least once, maybe twice, just trying to understand better and better, trying to remember the lines, how it's going to be developing move after move. And I believe that you can very successfully include this sharpest line into your repertoire, and this would be your great weapon how to face white's aggressive knight g5 move in the two knights defense. Thanks to everybody, and follow my gambit guide. If you have any question, please just contact me on my site www.chesslessons.wordpress.com. See you and bye.